This regular meeting of the Montana Public Service Commission is now in session. The time is 9:30 a.m. It is the 17th of May, 2022. We are in the Bollinger Room of the offices of the Montana Public Service Commission in Helena, Montana. We will begin by pledging to the flag. Would you all please stand? Commissioner O'Donnell, would you lead us? Flag of the United States of America. Republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. For the record, myself and Commissioner O'Donnell are present in the Bollinger Room. Commissioner Fielder and President Brown are joining us remotely, and Commissioner Pinocci is excused. He is attending rate school and acquiring continuing education, so that will keep him from joining us today. We have no public comment, is that right? Is there any public comment in the room? All right, then we will move on to action items. First would be approval of commission minutes from the previous meeting. Is there a motion? Commissioner O'Donnell moves to approve. I will second. Are there corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Did Commissioner Fielder, President Brown, have you voted?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on now to request for staff travel. Mr. Wilkerson. Before you start, Mr. Wilkerson, commissioners, if it is agreeable, there are three requests. They all seem pretty standard. I'd prefer to deal with all three in one motion if that's agreeable, at least until we hear the presentation. If there are objections to that, let me know. Otherwise, we'll deal with these in a single motion.
No objection.
Okay, thank you, Vice President Johnson. We have an out-of-state travel request for Ben Reed to travel to Clearwater, Florida from October 16th through the 21st, 2022 to attend the NARUC Eastern Utility Rate School. This is to receive at least a formal education on the basics of rate calculation for our chief legal. It is estimated that the cost of this will be between $2,000 and $2,500. The second request we have is approval for Dan Stusik to travel to San Diego, California, July 17th through 20th, 2022 to attend the NARUC Summer Policy Summit for the purpose of education and engagement on areas of energy reliability and versatility, telecom, water, and other items to be discussed. These policy discussions fit within his role at the commission. Estimated cost will be approximately $2,100. Our third request is for approval for Tina Shorten to travel to San Diego, California, July 17th through the 20th, 2022, to attend the NARUC Summer Policy Summit for the purpose of helping put on the poverty simulation, as well as attending committee and subcommittee meetings. Tina is a member of both the subcommittee on consumers and the public interest and the subcommittee on energy resources and environment, and her cost is estimated at $2,100.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkerson. Is there any objection from commissioners to dealing with all three of these in a single motion? All right. Is there a motion to approve? Commissioner O'Donnell, is there a second? I will second the motion. Is there discussion of the motion? Commissioner Fielder?
No discussion, sir.
President Brown?
No discussion. I'll support the motion.
All right, with no further discussion, then we will call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Wilkerson. Moving on now to work session items. First in docket 2018.10.070, Kukanusini LLC, Mr. Grant or Mr. Funk.
Thank you, Vice President Johnson. Commissioners, yes, this docket, as was just stated, AP Kukusent, staff distributed a memorandum last week. On October 4th, 2021, the commission received AP Kukusent's application for revised rates pursuant to the commission's operating ratio methodology. APK or AP Kukusent is located in Somers, Montana. The operating ratio method calculated a rate increase of $6.43 per month per customer. APK has a total of 17 customers and is requesting a $6 increase to each customer. The Montana Consumer Council petitioned to intervene on December 20th, 2021, and the petition was granted. Both the Consumer Council and Commission staff issued data requests in this proceeding, and no parties requested additional issues thereafter. With this application, AP Kukusent began charging its original rate increase request of $52 per month per customer as of January 1st, 2022. This rate was not approved, nor did the commission approve it. It appears that AP Kukusent knew before filing its application that charging the unapproved rate may have resulted in issuing a refund to customers. Staff recommends the commission refund $2 per month per customer from January 1st, 2022 until approval of the new rate, if approved today, of $56. So in conclusion, to summarize that all up, staff recommends approval of their application with the caveat of refunding customers $2 per month until the new rate, which would go into effect June 1st, if approved today. We're available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Fink. I will move that we approve staff recommendation in this docket. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner O'Donnell. Mr. Fink, thank you for the work that you all did on that. I think it frankly makes perfect sense that we not establish precedent to allow utilities to be collecting unauthorized rates, and that the refund in this situation is completely appropriate. And it seems to me that moving to the new rate under the operating ratio method is really pretty much a matter of arithmetic. Is it my understanding correct that they've submitted the requisite information in their application under operating ratio method? All of that is copacetic.
Vice President Johnson, that's correct.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Commissioner O'Donnell.
You know, based upon the small number of members who are served by this utility, I'm wondering what is the relationship between the authority, as the Vice President points out. We don't want to establish precedent, but when members of people served by the utility voluntarily agree to pay more, can the utility just simply accept that money because all the members agree to it? I'm just wondering, what is our real authority right here? How far does it stretch?
Vice President Johnson, Commissioner O'Donnell, you used the word voluntarily in that. I don't think it was. AP Kukusent sent out a letter stating we are raising the rates from $50 to $52. So it was an official request by APK when they sent that out. In regards to authority to them implementing that rate, if customers received that letter and paid it, then that is the fact of what they paid. But I'm not sure if I quite understood the rest of your question.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, thank you for that. I'm thinking that, are you aware of any objection by any of the customers of this utility to that rate increase? Or that propounded rate increase?
Vice President, Commissioner O'Donnell, no, I'm not.
So that's, I'm thinking it was a voluntary type of thing. These are all neighbors. They all probably all agreed that they had to do it. So I'm just wondering, you know, when people simply agree to it, if we have the authority to override that and say, no, you can't do that. Maybe it's a fine line. I certainly agree with the Vice President, you know, is that establishing precedent. But I just wondered, do we have the authority to say to them, no, you can't do this. You can't agree to something on your own. It has to go through formal process. Is that correct?
Vice President, Commissioner O'Donnell, I'm subject to check. I would think that's a very gray line. And I think if we did approve rates, I think it would be getting into quite legal basis.
Speaking about legal basis.
Yes. Mr. Hamilton.
Yes. Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Vice Chairman, Commissioner O'Donnell. Just a point of, from the legal perspective, I think that as long as the commission has a tariff on file, the utility can only charge what's in the tariff. So notwithstanding a voluntary payment from a utility customer that differs from that tariffed rate, it is still the law that they must follow the tariff, and absent the commission's approval, a change that differs from that tariff would be problematic.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Let me observe here that while I think that's spot on and something I was going to say, that the users can't vote to change the tariff, but within the context of a volunteer aspect here, the commission can mandate the refund, but we cannot mandate that the water users accept the refund. So if there is some on the part of those users a desire not to have that refund implemented, they certainly are in a position to refund the refund. I believe that would be totally legal, Mr. Hamilton, would it not?
Vice Chairman, excuse me, Vice President, Mr. Chairman. It's an interesting scenario that I can't imagine a customer doing, but I suppose they can make a donation to the company if they're so inclined.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Well, it's a very scary thing that the Vice President just read my mind. That's exactly what I was thinking that they might do, is say, just keep the money. So that would solve everything, but thank you.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Commissioner Fielder?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any discussion on the motion. I'd like to exercise a point of personal privilege after it's dispensed with.
Certainly do that. President Brown, any discussion?
No, I'll be supporting the motion. I do echo the Vice President's comments on the motion that it's a bit troubling that this entity authorized the increase on the tariff without getting our approval first.
Seeing no further discussion, we'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Fielder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a point of personal privilege, and I just wanted to share with my colleagues, when I saw the name cuckoo scent on this docket, I would share with you that this is really quite relative to my district. Cuckoo scent is the Salish Indian name for stargazer, which was the nickname they gave to David Thompson, the British explorer who set up trading posts across the continent of North America and set one here in the area of Thompson Falls. And our town and the falls is named after him, as well as the Thompson River. So he's quite a historical figure in our area, and the Indians called him Cuckoo Scent. He got along very well with them. They helped him establish trade in this area. It's a pretty amazing story.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Commissioner. We will move on now to work session item number 2, which is commission initiated. Two commissioners and a staff member had the opportunity to attend the Western Energy Interconnect Board, WEB meeting in San Diego a couple of weeks ago. And pursuant to commission policy, we will have some brief remarks from the three of us regarding that experience. We'll start with Mr. Stusek.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I had the honor of attending the CREPC YRAB meeting in San Diego, and really enjoyed my experience there. It was my first opportunity to travel, employed by this commission, and I know that was a privilege to get down there. It was great to meet plenty of folks, including those from the Western U.S., and especially spending some time after hours with folks from neighboring states who share some of the same issues we do here in Montana. There was a lot of discussion, one full day dedicated to transmission and the recent for NOPR and ANOPR, and just issues with transmission in the West, impediments. There were folks down there, other folks from Montana who I got to spend some time with too, including from the Montana Energy Office, and really just dove into some of the issues that here at the commission that are extremely important to us in a regional basis, and important to just where this conversation is headed over the next few years. And so often we get bogged down in sort of our daily tasks. And so it was great to be able to focus in on some of the details, know who is on those Zoom calls and some of those meetings that I intend and will be able to more fully understand and work amongst those my peers on a regional basis, especially. So a lot of talk about day ahead market, the RTO discussions that have gone on past and looking forward in the future, and what some of the areas agreement and disagreements on those issues are. So I very much enjoyed my experience and look forward to appreciate the commission approving future travel as well. Look forward to continuing to engage in those conversations, and am eager for the opportunity to continue learning about all these issues, as well as keeping the commission more in tune with these discussions moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Stusek. Are there any commissioner questions for Mr. Stusek? All right, let me go now to Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you. Again, with the other two, I attended that meeting. What I was looking for was a familiarity with the discussions that have gone on for the last, 2 years, I guess, that the organization has been in effect. My perspective was not so much the establishment of a cooperative agreement with utilities, generation sources across the West for possibly a regional transmission organization or some type of cooperative scheme there. But my personal emphasis was whether or not any sort of a structure, cooperation of states, in any sense, with regard to the accelerated closure of baseload power plants in the West, from nuclear to gas to coal, that my concern was, would any state or any collection of states, if they have anything to help out Montana when it gets to be extremely cold here? Montana has the record of being having the coldest temperature in the contiguous states of 70 degrees below zero. Just 2 years ago, we experienced 45 degrees below zero. And I have to tell you that I saw absolutely nothing there that would address the existential needs of Montanans from a shrinking baseload energy marketplace. I'm concerned that when Northwest Energy has to go to the marketplace to purchase additional power, there isn't going to be any there. When the whole rest of the West is totally dedicated to renewables, and with the energy, with the transmission constraints into and out of Montana anyway, I don't see how any of this is really going to help. It strikes me again that a cooperative agreement will help during all things being equal, during normal weather times within a wide range right there. But in extreme temperatures, that's when Montana is going to have a problem. And notwithstanding the advantages of a cooperative agreement in those times, I think when it comes to extreme temperatures, that Montana has to be energy independent, and it's up to us. No one else is going to have energy to send to us when Montana's needed. And unfortunately, life is not sustainable at 45 degrees below zero. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I went to I've been to this conference every year for a number of years, and through most of those experiences, there was a lot of discussion about how there was ultimately going to be some kind of top-down, one-size-fits-all approach to this this whole question of resource adequacy and reliability and transmission and how we were going to meet these needs. I think keeping in mind that we exist in a world today in Montana that where the challenges that we face are not just within the borders of Montana, but regional as well. In fact, while I agree with much of what Commissioner O'Donnell said, the fact of the matter is, if we weren't contending with policies and attitudes in other states, we wouldn't be talking about the pending capacity shortfall that we are. We clearly live in a regional and national environment when we talk about these policies and how we're going to put something together that helps us meet the challenges that are clearly ahead of us. I guess the thing that became most clear to me from this meeting, and it in fact is a departure from where we had been at subsequent meetings, and that is there clearly is no regional consensus forming with regard to this one-size-fits-all approach to resource adequacy and reliability. We've been 2.5 years simply trying to get the body of state regulators to come out with a set of governing principles to deal with this regional thing. And by the time they were done, despite what the chairman of that committee said, they were pretty much milquetoast, and it was kind of motherhood, apple pie, and the flag content. So nobody had a problem with them, but they really ultimately don't take us where we need to go. So what is surfacing now is more conversation, and I had a number of these outside of the formal presentations. More conversation about small groups of states within the region, sub-regional groups coming together. As an example, perhaps Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, all of whom have some similar challenges going forward, sitting down and talking about how they can, on that sub-regional basis, address some of these issues, and that we would hope that same model would be embraced by other groups of states around the region, and that we can build some kind of sub-regional building blocks that ultimately we could bring together that would provide a more effective regional approach. But that approach is very much in its infancy. I don't know where it's going to go, but after this last meeting, I am convinced that the answer is not going to come from some kind of region-wide, top-down, one-size-fits-all policy construct. And the important thing, I think, for Montana, A, is recognizing that fact, and B, making absolutely certain, as we have, that we're going to have a meaningful seat at the table as those discussions go forward. So with that, Commissioner O'Donnell and I'd be happy to respond to questions that Commissioner Fielder or President Brown might have. Okay.
Here.
And we will move on to our final agenda item.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Hold on.
Commissioner President Brown.
I do have one travel update. On March 30th, I traveled to Butte, Montana, or Butte, America, as they say. Butte is, of course, in my district. I spent about a half a day touring Northwestern's operations in Butte. Vast majority of the day was spent with the customer service operations center. Essentially, I received a rate school equivalent of how Northwestern Energy handles its customer services and its operations. It was extremely informative. And then I also toured the control center, wherein I had discussions regarding transmission services and viewed the how Northwestern does its real-time operations. We discussed the importance of Northwestern's transmission infrastructure to not only Northwestern, but also to those entities that are now utilizing Northwestern's transmission assets to deliver their power. It was a very informative tour, and I learned a lot, particularly in the area of how Northwestern does its response to complaints or power outages. There was no cost to the commission. I fronted that out of pocket. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, President Brown. Commissioner Field, I hadn't thought about going to you two for some of that more local activity, and I apologize for that. Have you got anything you'd like to share with us about your travel?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did make several trips to Helena for participation from my headquarters to the office to take care of some business. However, those trips were not reimbursed. I did put in a request for them, but that request has been denied. The only travel that has been reimbursed to me since our last update has been a trip to from Thompson Falls, my headquarters home office, to Stevensville, which is in my district in the Bitterroot Valley. That's 142 miles away. I was asked by a local civic group down there if I would come and give a presentation on the Public Service Commission and what we're up to and what kind of current issues we're facing these days. So I did that on March 28th. I was able to spend the night with some relatives down there, so there was no lodging cost. So the total reimbursement cost was about less than $230 for the mileage and a little bit of per diem. The hot topic at that time was our new district boundaries were being developed and had just been reconfigured by the court. So I was able to share the court's map with them to let them know how those folks in the Ravalli County fit into the overall redistricting. It didn't affect them too much other than we added a new county to the District 4 district, which is Deer Lodge County. I took an opportunity to go through and do some education on what the Public Service Commission and the Department of Public Service Regulation actually does, similar to some of the presentations I've given at the legislative committee hearings. We made sure to let them know that this commission has been able, well, I shouldn't say this commission, but the commission has been able to save tens of millions of dollars for ratepayers. And I use the example from the 4-year snapshot that staff had prepared for us, which is one of the most recent snapshots we have of a 4-year period of concluded cases, which indicates we've saved ratepayers $73 million over those 4 years. And comparing that against the annual budget that it costs us to operate, the ratepayers are coming out well ahead in terms of the investment in our department. I was able to share with them some of the successes we've had with preventing train derailments in our railway safety program. We did talk a little bit about the audit findings, but most importantly, what we're doing to improve agency operations with our strategic planning, our internal policies, our enhanced recruitment and cross-training and retention that we're doing with staff, and the software modernization project, and some of the work the commission has done this past year to help improve agency operations and the effort that we need to try to improve our FTE stability. I did point out the fact that the legislature has made some rather erratic cuts in our FTEs, and that has had a very real impact on the ability of the department to carry on its functions in some ways, particularly in the front office, because that's where most of the cuts seem to have been made, and that's where most of the audit problems were centered. I also did speak with them a little bit about some of the current issues that we are facing. The energy industry's forced commitment to transition to carbon-free energy is a concern. I think that it's leaving out a major part of the equation, and that is base load reliability. And so we had a little bit of a discussion about that. The land area impacted by some of these new energies is pretty drastic. It takes, for a 10-acre gas plant, you'd need about 17,000 acres of the same land space to do the same amount of megawatts in solar, and you'd need about 65,000 acres to do the same megawatts in wind. So there are some really real impacts to the environment that are kind of being, I think, ignored and cast aside in this discussion about trying to move to just carbon-free energy. And that's factoring in some environmental concerns, but it's completely ignoring other environmental concerns. So there was some great discussion on that. And also the concern that I think my commissioners share, and that is that we simply have declining capacity in relation to the population in Montana. We're importing energy more often than we're exporting it. And utilities have pointed out to us that we have a capacity problem. And as Commissioner O'Donnell and Chairman Johnson pointed out, we've got some serious challenges that this state needs to really get on top of in order to ensure that we've got the amount of energy that we need for people to be able to provide for those daily functions, especially during peak load times. We also touched a little bit on the smart meters and the choice that they have. There's been a lot of questions about that with mailers going out from Northwestern, and just letting people know that they do have the option to opt out of the smart meters if they want to, and that's some work that the commission did in conjunction with the legislature. And we also talked about the high efficiency power lines initiative that Commissioner Pinocci has instituted at the commission with the commission's approval and consent to take a look at moving forward with increasing energy efficiency and saving some energy by seeing if we can come up with a policy on high efficiency power lines. So we had a very broad discussion. It was a good discussion. It was nice to get down to that part of my district. I'd like to be able to get to some of the other parts of my district as well. It's, as you all know, our districts are pretty large, and it's very important for us as representatives of those districts to get out and hear from the people and also convey to them what's going on with the Department of Public Service Regulation and the work that we're doing there for them.
Thank you, Commissioner Fielder, excuse me. Now, I believe, can move on to the third work session item, which is litigation status update. And I am obligated to share with folks that the presiding officer of any meeting may close the meeting during the time discussion relates to a matter of litigation and/or litigation strategy. And the presiding officer determines the need to protect agency litigation decision-making and discussion exceeds the merits of public disclosure. The discussion in this closed session will involve discussions and decision-making related to ongoing litigation in which the agency is involved as a party. Accordingly, as the presiding officer of this meeting, I am closing this meeting to the public. So we will now adjourn the public part of this meeting. We'll go into closed session, and at the conclusion of the closed session, we will adjourn this business meeting.